Avery, you want to pray us in?
Yeah. Okay. By head. Dear Lord, we thank you for this day. We thank you for allowing us to all to be here to celebrate word and celebrate teachings. For those who are not here today, I pray that they remain not just loyal, but remain obedient to your word and will follow you throughout. And for those who are out there, friends, family, etc., even enemies, we pray that they may the health is wise and the wisdom has grown. For we do not want anyone to be on the path of wickedness or evil, but to your path, Lord. And in Jesus' name I pray and we all pray. Amen.
Amen. Cool. So let's get started. We're at Exodus 15 and 16. So what did we cover last two chapters? What happened?
It's the Moses with the help of God help accompany the covering the Israelites across the sea in face of the Egyptians, and the Egyptians they made a mistake in trying to track him and chase him down. Let's just say that. But Moses gained his confidence into the Lord, and that's where you kind of see the development growth from him. And then to realize, you see the people kind of grow that more too. But it's mostly like Moses' development on that.
Okay. That was 13. So 13 was about what God told him to do about the animals and consecrating the firstborn, making a sacrifice and offering a dedication to God. And then the second part, was crossing the Red Sea. So we go there. 14 is just as Avery said. Egyptians had tracked down the Israelites, and like you said, Avery purposefully for them made a way, and they escaped death with God's help. So now we're going to get into Exodus 15. You can read the whole song. Let's just read. I'll just read the song out loud. And then if anybody has anything to say at the end of the chapter, then have at it. So here we go. Song of Moses and Miriam. Then Moses and the Israelites sang this song to the Lord. I will sing to the Lord, for he is highly exalted. Both horse and driver, he is hurled into the sea. The Lord is my strength and my defense. He has become my salvation. He is my God, and I will praise him, my Father's God. And I will exalt him. Lord is a warrior. The Lord is his name. Pharaoh's chariots and his army he has hurled into the sea. The best of Pharaoh's officers are drowned in the Red Sea. Deep waters are covered. It sank to the depths like a stone. Your right hand, Lord, was majestic in power. Your right hand, Lord, shattered the enemy. In the greatness of your majesty, you threw down those who opposed you. You unleashed your burning anger. You consumed them like stubble. By the blast of your nostrils, the waters piled up. The surging waters stood up like a wall. The deep waters congealed in the heart of the sea. The enemy boasted, I will pursue, I will overtake them, I will divide the spoils. I will gorge myself with them, I will draw my sword, and my hand will destroy them. But you blew with your breath, and the sea covered them. It stank like lead in the mighty waters. Who among the gods is like you, Lord? Who is like you, majestic in holiness, awesome in glory, working wonders? You stretch out your right hand, and the earth swallows your enemies. In your unfailing love, you will lead the people you have redeemed. In your strength, you will guide them to your holy dwelling. The nations will hear and tremble. Anguish will grip the people of Philistia, I guess. Yeah, Philistia. The priests of Edom will be terrified. The leaders of Moab will be seized with trembling. The people of Canaan will melt away. Terror and dread will fall on them. By the power of your arm, they will be as still as stone until your people pass by, Lord. Until the people you bought pass by. You will bring them in and plant them on the mountain of your inheritance, the place, Lord, you made for your dwelling, the sanctuary, Lord, your hands established. The Lord reigns forever and ever. Actually, I'm going to read up to the end of the section. When Pharaoh's horses, chariots, and horsemen went into the sea, the Lord brought the waters of the sea back over them. The Israelites walked through the sea on dry ground. Then Miriam the prophet, Aaron's sister, took a timbrel in her hand, and all the women followed her, timbrels and dancing. Miriam sang to them, "Sing to the Lord, for he is highly exalted. Both horse and driver he is hurled into the sea." All right. So in this first section, does anybody have anything?
We'll see. Say how it I mean, it's just like sort of just basically, I would say, more like a celebration and yeah, I guess celebration of victory for the world, like celebration song, not just a celebration song, but like for like a trying to find a word for it, but it's for Lord and for the God. It's just like to prove like yeah they have been doubted for a while. There were doubts, but this really confirms it. They're like beliefs and like passing for the Lord. Because early on, they was like trouble and like worry, except for Moses, he was still in development. But after again they passed the sea and they started to really believe this is kind of like the not exact point, but like the crucial point of them. Yeah, they Lord is of them.
Okay. Well, I mean, it's not like just a celebration song. It's like, how can you relate this song back to your life, Avery?
More like
what part of this relates back to life? Where God brought you and your family through something, or really just you, that you can sing to him, that you're filled with that much joy.
joy. That's probably another word I said for.
You know, if you haven't experienced that, I hope you do. So I was looking at, as I read verse 8, this is really powerful. It says, by the blast of your nostrils, the waters piled up. The imagery of that is so real. Like, can you think of just when you, I don't know if you can hear that from my nose, but it's like that. It's just, it says by the blast, like that's how great and big God is, and that from that itself, the water stood up. And so if he can do that, why can't he take you through something in your own life? Sometimes we get like really down about all these things. We say this like every Bible study, especially reading Exodus. As Black men, as U.S. citizens, and just as Christians in this world that's really messed up. If he can do all that with just that, think about the the breath he can blow into your life, just like Adam. When Adam was brought to life with, God's breath. And so I just think about some things that I've been through, things I've gone through, and just praising and thanking God a lot of times, even in the midst of my troubles. So actually, since we're on songs and music, Sean asked me this a while back. We were driving the car, and he asked me if I had a go-to song from when I was in trouble, like a gospel song or a really good song that just connects me back to God. And I think I have only one. It's Encourage Yourself. It's one of my favorite songs of all time when I'm just down. So Avery, do you have a song that brings you back to God, not brings you back to being happy, but it brings you back to God? I'm asking everyone to reflect about what he's done for you.
Yeah. Also with that question, Avery, like I know I was talking with Jerry. I was talking about probably a life group lesson I did with my life group, and I had told everybody to bring a song that describes your relationship with God as well, or to describe your relationship with God, and or a song what song are you listening to right now that is speaking into like your circumstance right now in this season of your life. So, I mean, the song changes, you know what I mean? Like when you hear a new song, that's your jam for a while. And then you'll hear another song like probably 6 months, after that. And you forget about the other song because you got a new jam now. So like, what's your jam right now? Or what was it?
Sure.
The song that touched you the most out of all of them?
Yeah, sure. Doesn't remember the name, but I just don't remember the chorus to it. For it was like, oh, I have a favorite chorus. Wow. I think if I had to choose one that really got me the most, that really connected me with God is I started when I hung it. I don't know the example. It was like, "Endlessly from heaven, rain down on me, rain down on me." I don't remember what it was called.
Melodies from
know
Heaven.
that one.
Yeah.
Of course we know that one.
Yeah, Melodies from Heaven.
I don't know the name, right?
Kurt Franklin.
Good.
Yeah.
Well, Avery, today, look it up, Melodies from Heaven.
Okay, that's what I think. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Wow, how to forget that one? Okay, stop being stupid. But anyway, yeah, that's gotta be the one that's really got me, And thanks, Janice. That was one that was. But outside, like not just love songs, and no song you said like everything changed like every 6 months, but one song that I usually constantly listen to a lot. It's not no rap song. It's just like a soothing melody song. It's called "Weight of the World," and it's just kind of like when you down. I was like, this is kind of like it's a soothing song. It just like kind of impacts like, oh wow, maybe my stuff I do, what impact I do, kind of has a weight of what like I actually mean something or something.
Sean, did you have anything on the song itself, or do you want to just wait to the end of the chapter?
Nah, man, I'll go ahead and go because I got totally separate stuff for that next section. Okay. So for this one, let's start off with verse 1, man. Like it was so powerful. Then Moses and the people of Israel sang this song to the Lord. I will sing to the Lord. So I'm gonna start right there. I will sing to the Lord. So this song, man, it's something else. Like because this song ain't about glorifying Moses. It's not about glorifying Aaron or Miriam. It's talking about God.
Exactly.
And that's so powerful for the Israelites. Like they, in this moment right here in time, were focused on the Lord and glorifying him. They realized that God was the one that parted the Red Sea. God was the one that made the Red Sea walls hold up and made it hard when it's water. And you should be able to penetrate it. Like you shouldn't be able to penetrate it like they did and be able to walk on dry ground. Like they realized God was the one who beat the Egyptian army, like it said in verse 2. The Lord, no, where am I looking for? No, the next part in verse 1. I will sing to the Lord. So I won't sing to man, I'm gonna sing to the Lord. Nobody did it but him, right? It's gonna say that later on. So it says, for he has triumphed gloriously. He has hurled both horse and rider into the sea. So they're saying right here that God did what Israel couldn't do. God defeated a foe that Israel was struggling to beat and couldn't beat. They were slaves to them. So God did the impossible for them. So that was so powerful, man. And so, yeah, let's go to verse 2. The Lord is my strength and my song. He has given me victory. Like, that is so powerful. Because if you read it in the King James, it says, the Lord is my strength and my song. He has become my salvation. So victory is salvation. You don't triumph and receive and overcome circumstances in life unless you have God. So that's what this is saying right here. When you let God be your God and you let God be your strength, he'll be your song too. He'll give you things to rejoice over. He'll help you to receive the victory through each and every single circumstance in your life. And so yeah, I'm gonna keep on going unless anybody want to add something. But yeah, like there's so much more to be said. Like you keep on reading, about all that. Like we could literally break it down, but we don't have that kind of time. So let's go to verse 6. Like one of my favorite phrases in the Bible is just talking about the right hand. Like you'll see it so many times in the Bible when it talks about God's right hand. When it says it in verse 6 right here in chapter 15, it says, your right hand, O Lord, is glorious in power. Your right hand, O Lord, smashes the enemy. Like right hand symbolizes in that time period, it symbolized skill and power. Most people, of course, everybody's right-handed, most people. So like, yeah, but when it comes to God's right hand, come on now, who's going to his power and skill super exceeds everybody else's and all other gods and everything. So yeah. And like, let's go to verse 7, the very end. You unleash your blazing fury. It consumes them like straw. Like straw, you don't bring a knife to a gunfight. You definitely don't bring a straw to a firefight. It's just going to get scorched, right? And that's what happens when you go up against the Lord too, as well. And I like that you brought up verse 8, Jerry, because that touched me too. Like when it talks about the blast of thy nostrils, that reminds me of cartoon. Just cartoons, when cartoon characters are mad, their nostrils show and it'd be huffing, like smoke comes from their nose. And that's how it is with God. When God's angry, what will his nostrils do? Like it says the waters were gathered together. Like he moved the waters with his nostrils, and the heat of the waves, killed off the Egyptians. God's enemies and God's foes. That's another thing. In my studying is talking about how when you're one of God's children, you should hate the same enemy. Not hate, but when you're one of God's children, God's enemies are your enemies. And God's going to take care of those enemies for you because that's God's battle, not yours, right? So the battle belongs to the Lord, not you. And then, of course, verse 11 through 13, all the Old Testament says this exact same thing in this exact same way. It says, who is like you among the gods, O Lord, glorious in holiness, awesome in splendor, performing great wonders. So there's no God like you, right? So this is what they're praising. Like they're literally focusing on God. They didn't even mention nobody except for God. And that's how it should be, guys. Like when you're in the wilderness of life, like I'm going to really break that down in a minute, but when you're in the wilderness of life, man, your only focus should be God and what all the things He did for you. Yeah, you can credit your wife and your future wife, your future kids. You can credit everybody else, your mom, your daddy. But at the end of the day, God is the one that did it for you, not anybody else. God just used them to give you the blessing, right? So you raised your right hand again, your right hand, and the earth swallowed our enemies. With your unfailing love, you lead the people you have redeemed. So, man, God's going to lead you to victory, man. With his unfailing love, man, you can trust him with every circumstance you face in life. And what's so powerful is the enemies, God's enemies that the Israelites struggled with. They even heard about it. And like you'll hear about it later on in Joshua 2, when the 10 spies went to Canaanite to check out the land. And Rahab, helped Caleb and Joshua escape. She hid them because she heard about the Egyptians. Like literally, if we go to, I'm gonna go ahead and go to it in Joshua 2:10. Let's read it. Yeah, Joshua 2:10. Rahab said this. She said, "We have heard how the Lord dried up the water of the Red Sea for you, when you came out of Egypt and what you did to Sihon and Og, the two kings of the Amorites east of the Jordan, whom you completely destroyed. Like, this is why she feared the Lord, because they heard everybody, all the nations. It literally said the Edomites are terrified, the Moabites tremble. Like, all people that hear about your glory, that are your enemies, man, they're lifeless like a stone. That is so powerful, man. So when you got God on your side, that's how it should be. When your enemies come around you, like, you know, they should know who they're messing with. No, don't go there with you, you know, because God's on your side, right? So the people of Israel, yeah. I think I'm done. Yeah, y'all got anything y'all want to add?
Nah,
I
bro,
got nothing.
Today.
Okay, and then something else. The last thing I want to say, in verse 2 again, how it talked about salvation. You know, he has become my salvation. We cannot save ourselves, but God must become our salvation, you know? So God's the one that's going to give you the victory. You can't give yourself the victory. There's some battles in life that you can't fight, and you don't have the strength or the might or anything, the knowledge to be able to get yourself out of a situation, but God can, and he will, man, when you trust in him. So the Israelites would have never been free if they would have never trusted in the Lord or weren't his people to begin with. They would have still been in Egypt. So, all right, I'm ready for the next section.
I'll read the next section. Great stuff, man, as always. Where are we? 22, the waters of Marah and Elam. So then Moses led Israel from the Red Sea, and they went into the desert of Shur. For 3 days they traveled in the desert without finding water. When they came to Marah, they could not drink its water because it was bitter. That is why the place is called Marah. So the people grumbled against Moses, saying, "What are we to drink?" Then Moses cried out to the Lord, and the Lord showed him a piece of wood. He threw it into the water, and the water became fit to drink. The Lord issued a ruling instruction for them and put them to the test. He said, "If you listen carefully to the Lord your God and do what is right in his eyes, you pay attention to his commands and keep all his decrees, I will not bring on you any of the diseases I brought on to the Egyptians, for I am the Lord who heals you." Then they came to Elam, where there were 12 springs and 70 palm trees, and they camped there near the water. And Sean, like, the more that, I'm glad you keep saying this all the time, that like the more that we continue to read the Bible, the more that you can just keep relating everything back to Jesus.
Right.
like it says for 3 days they had no water, so death essentially. Feeling like you only survive without water for about 3 days. They were close to dying, guys. And so like Jesus conquered all that, you know. And so the next day, the Lord showed them water and a place to rest, and having all the resources, and also later on in the Bible, where is it, Sean? It's like do not ask what shall we drink or what shall we eat. Don't worry about tomorrow, for it's already been taken care of. Those kind of things, like that's later on in the New Testament.
Right, Matthew 6.
Yeah, so it's like these things keep being like repeated to us over and over again. Yeah, exactly, yeah. So these things are always like repeated to us throughout the Bible. I just love that. Yet again, if you listen carefully to your Lord, so Jesus even said, if you listen to me, keep my commands. If you love my Father, if you obey Him, so I would show love to God. God told him this because He knew that what the test they were going to go through, was going to be long, and He would keep them, and protect them, and everything if they just obey. And so, like, how many times do we not obey, and then we see the consequences of us ultimately not obeying God? It's not necessarily about making good or bad choices. At the end of the day, it's all about obeying His commands. And the world's going to tell you about thinking for yourself, as long as you don't make choices that affect other people. Okay? But at the end of the day, it's all about, if your Father in heaven is happy, with what you're doing. So yeah, that's my little spew. Anything else from anybody?
Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and go because I think after I say everything, everybody's gonna keep on adding to it. I think we're gonna be here for a while, but man, like this section is so powerful. Like I heard sermons on this. I think I sat through sermons on this. Like my dad, of course, preached this passage before, but like I slept. I was a kid. I wasn't paying attention. So like, and I wasn't saved then either, so I didn't understand it. But man, this section is so powerful. Like when you start off the verse, it says that they reached an oasis called Mora, and then at the end it says they reached another oasis called Elam. I'll talk about that in a minute. But the oasis in Mora, right? So the water was bitter to drink. Like, and then it said there was water everywhere. I don't know if you guys caught that. Yeah, there's water everywhere, and they were thirsty. So like I think you can go to, they said 2 weeks without drinking water, but when you're in the wilderness though, you can only go 3 days. Like the human body can only go 3 days without any water before death in the wilderness. And so like, man, this is so powerful, man. Like they had water everywhere. Like in the oasis of Elam coming up, they had everything. But in the oasis of Mora, they had water everywhere, but none of it was good enough to drink. It was all bitter, right? Like that's how life is, man. Like life's a place, life's a wilderness. Like this is a symbol of just our life, man, with God. Like, through our whole studying of this chapter, like for me, 15 and 16, it's been teaching me that, you know, man, how am I gonna say this? Like, God has brought me out of Egypt. So when you're first saved, you come out of Egypt, and your whole entire life is gonna be a wilderness. Like you say that one thing's the promised land, but it ends up not being the promised land because that doesn't satisfy you. That will never give you what you really want to drink. It can only give you, it only gives you something like temporarily that satisfies you, you know? So like, yeah, with my life, man, like I'm figuring out, like I was really contemplating, like, of course, I feel like I'm in a wilderness right now, but I was in a wilderness before in Charlotte. Like, you know, it's just a different wilderness. And that's what's funny. Like, it felt like Mora. It felt like, you know, Elam. Like, Elam's a place where, you know, it's a place of rest and comfort. Like, it said that they had 12 springs of, so 12 wells, and then like 70 palm trees. So like probably fruit everywhere. Like I don't know what's on a palm tree, but you know, like they had provision for days, like in Elam. But in Mora, like all they had was water they couldn't drink. So that's how life is. Like it'd be circumstances just like that, man. And the people asked, like in verse 24, like, what will we drink? That is so powerful, man. Because that reminds me of the New Testament. Like, to whom shall we go? To whom's our God? Like, you know, when Jesus said, "Are you guys gonna leave me too?" When all the followers left him, because he started, like, he was feeding them. They wanted food. That's all they wanted. But then when he started saying, like, you know, this is what it takes to be in the kingdom. This is what it takes to be one of God's children. Then they turned away because it wasn't what they wanted, how they wanted to serve God. It wasn't good enough for them. Like, so he was turning people away. And he asked the disciples, "Are you gonna leave me too?" Like, and then Peter said, like, "To whom shall we go?" Like, you know, all this stuff, all the Bible relates to each other, like we've been saying. So like with this part, what shall we drink? Like that's a question I want to ask you guys. What do you drink every day? Like you need water every day, right? Like to live, especially if you're in the wilderness. You can't go, if you're in the wilderness and you go without water, you're only gonna get, oh my gosh, like you know how it is to be thirsty. But imagine being in the hot, scorching wilderness. Like, what shall we drink? That's how life is. Life is a wilderness. So what are you drinking every day to satisfy yourself? Like it said that the Israelites, like you can force yourself to try to drink some things, but it's not going to satisfy you. And that's so powerful that this place is bitter, right? Because that's what more means, a bitter place. And then God turns the water to sweet, you know. And but before I get to that though, uh, all the Israelites are asking Moses, "What shall we do? What shall we do?" They're murmuring and complaining to Moses, right? Like when they should be going to God. They should know by now. You can go to God about anything, and He'll come to you. He'll answer your questions. The only person who went to God in this situation was Moses. So, guys, when you're thirsty, when you're not getting what you want in life, when it's not satisfying you, are you like forcing yourself to drink things that doesn't satisfy you, that you know is just temporarily going to get you what you want? And it may even jack you up so bad that it's gonna make you take 10 steps back to where, and make you have to wait even longer and try even harder to get what you want, what you really want. You guys get what I'm trying to say. I don't have to elaborate. So like, where are you, man? So like, Moses was the only one who cried out to God, and God showed him immediately a tree. And like, all he had to do is just throw in the wood, the tree, into the waters. And like Jerry was saying, the tree is Christ, man. That's what it symbolizes. It's talking about the power of the cross. So when life's afflictions are too bitter, when yeah, when life's afflictions are too bitter, man, God will satisfy you, man. He will enable you to rejoice in all trials and tribulations in life and all afflictions. So that's what this passage is talking about, man. When stuff gets hard and when life ain't going your way, man, Christ is always there for you. The Holy Spirit is always there for you. What he did on the cross at Calvary, man, put your cares and burdens at the cross, at his feet, at Calvary. And then he'll turn any sorrow that you have into sweet. Cast it upon the waters, man. God is the water. He's the water of life, man. The water of life, man. It's like, that's so powerful, man. I love this Bible, man. So, by following God's directions, Moses made the water drinkable, and Israel found water in the wilderness. Guys, in the wilderness, man, at all places, man. Like this, I can't wait to keep on going, like to chapter 16. But I really been thinking about a wilderness. Like, can you imagine being in a wilderness, man? Like in the Sahara Desert or something. Like, how are you gonna get food? How are you gonna get drink? Like, one of the things the Israelites never struggled with was like malnutrition. Well, I'll wait to get to it. I'm not gonna go no further. Y'all got anything y'all want to say?
No, man, you're good, dude. I'm just listening. Keep going.
All right, yeah, I'm gonna wait till the next part to do that. But like, the Israelites learned right here who Jehovah Rapha is. Like, that's a new name that they learned in this place.
Yeah.
And that's the guy who heals, man. The guy who heals, man. He can turn anything around. He can restore you, man. He can do anything through all the afflictions and trials and pains of life, man. He can turn your situation around. And that's what the Israelites experienced here. And it's so sad that we're just like the Israelites, man. I know I am. Like, just be murmuring, complaining, whining about the littlest things when God has already revealed himself to you. He already showed you who Jehovah Rapha is. He already done showed you who I think who was the other one? You get what I'm saying? He done showed you some of his names already. And he showed you who he was. And then you forget, because whatever you're looking at, whatever you're facing right now, just seems too unbearable, too hard. Like, you're approaching death. Like, this is the end of me, surely. When God, then he's gonna bring you out. So what's the point of like whining and complaining to others and then blaming other people for the struggles and the pains and the woes and the ways that you're going through in life, when really you should be blaming God? Like, we'll get to that in a minute. But all right, I'll stop. Anybody got something they want to say?
No, I was just gonna say, I mean, honestly, I was thinking about what you said about like, and I think Avery said it earlier, like he was mentioning the most in his confidence, and like thing is, this story is Moses is the the prophet. He's the tool, he's the instrument. Moses is us, those that believe. God can use us if we let him. Mm-hmm. And the thing is, also, it's like you said, like they were complaining to Moses instead of complaining to God. And even though complaining is bad, like God still, like I believe, like he still wants to hear that from you, because he wants you to go to him with your problems, with like your happiness and your pain, all those things. He still wants you to return. And the reason why, because this hit me this morning as I was doing a devotional separately. Let me see if I screenshot it. This touched my heart this morning. And this is my prayer for all of you. This is for my wife one day. This is for myself and my family. And this is in Jeremiah 29. Everybody quotes Jeremiah 29:11. But the rest of this is banging. So this is the MSG version. This is Jeremiah 29 through 29:12 to 14. It says, when you call on me, when you come and pray to me, I'll listen. When you come looking for me, you'll find me. And yes, when you get serious about finding me and want it more than anything else, I'll make sure you won't be disappointed. God's decree. I'll turn things around for you. I'll bring you back from all the countries into which I drove you. God's decree. Bring you home to the place from which I sent you into exile. You can count on it. I cried this morning. I almost wept this morning, y'all. Like that, I relate that to this and this really the rest of the Bible, honestly. You know, because it's just like, you know how many people like walk around in life not knowing that they can just go to God? They don't have to go to church. They don't have to go to a priest. They don't have to go to their mom or dad to go to, like, they can literally just access him right there. And I was one of those people. And when I finally got serious and just gave my life to Christ, for real, I haven't been disappointed since. Ever. Even when something like I feel is out of my control and I seek his face, I just go find him and be like, Lord, this isn't for me. Don't make it so. If this isn't healthy, let it, I choose to let it go and put it in your hands. And so, like, as his children, we have to continue to go and seek him, man. But that was really powerful, Sean. Like that section in that part, it's just like, why go to a man instead of going to God? And I know, like, a couple people, especially when Trump was in power, they were like, if Trump does this, and Trump does that, and Trump does this, and Trump does that, then we're not gonna get like, Trump is just a man. He's not God. He's not the author and finisher of my faith, no matter what he does. Nor is Joe Biden, Kamala Harris. Nobody else is but God. So yeah, that was just super powerful. Like, just if you're struggling with trying to figure out how to access him and what you're going through, just talk to him, seek him seriously. He'll give you what you need. But yeah, that's my 2 bits on this section as well.
I got something else too. Like, one of my favorite passages in the Bible is actually Jeremiah 2:13. This is what it says. It says, my people have committed 2 sins. They have forsaken me, the spring of living water, and have dug their own cisterns, broken cisterns that cannot hold water. Like, this relates to the same passage we're in right now, but more like, man, we try to do things and go places and just all the stuff that we try to do ourselves are broken cisterns. Like, they can't hold water. Like, they don't satisfy. They're not sufficient. Like, it doesn't give you everything that you want. It can't fulfill you. When God is the living cistern, like he's the spring of living water. Like, he's the everlasting water. You'll never thirst when you go to him for everything. So, like, we keep on digging for ourselves, like, our own cisterns, and we keep on going places like Mora, and trying to create our own water in it. When God, if we just ask God, he can give us what we want, and we just trust in the Lord. The water can change to something else. You know what I mean? So, yeah, so I meant to say that earlier, just with that part. But you helped bring that back up for me, Jerry.
Yeah. Definitely. Jeremiah is a rough book.
Right. It's your name, man. It's your book.
So I guess that's it. Move to the next chapter. Man, I asked my mom and dad, why did y'all name me? It's really sad. The whole book is really sad. Because God destroyed Jerusalem in that book for their disobedience. It's pretty tough. But he still made a promise to Jeremiah later on. Yeah. Guess we can move on to 16. Yeah. How long is this one? Okay, not too long. Section. Yes. I'll just read it, but I'm know when to stop. So okay, Exodus 16. The whole Israelite community set out for Elam and came to the desert of Sin, which is between Elam and Sinai, on the 15th day of the second month after they had come out of Egypt. In the desert, the whole community grumbled against Moses and Aaron. The Israelites said to them, "If only we had died by the Lord's hand in Egypt. There we sat around pots of meat and ate all the food we wanted, but you have brought us out into this desert to starve this entire assembly to death." And the Lord said to Moses, "I will rain down bread from heaven for you. The people are to go out each day and gather enough for that day. In this way, I will test them to see whether they will follow my instruction. On the sixth day, they are to prepare what they bring in, and that is to be twice as much as they gather on the other days." So Moses said to all the Israelites, "In the evening, you will know that it was the Lord who brought you out of Egypt. And in the morning, you will see the glory of the Lord, because he has heard your grumbling against him. Who are we that you should grumble against us?" Moses also said, "You will know that it was the Lord when he gives you meat to eat in the evening and all the bread you want in the morning, because he has heard your grumbling against him. Who are we? You are not grumbling against us, but against the Lord." I'll stop there. Anything, verses 1 through 8.
Oh, Avery, you got anything before I go? Yeah.
No, I don't got anything for this one.
All right. So, the wilderness of sin. I don't know if you guys caught that. They say that this it doesn't really mean sin, but like when you like when you think about it, it does. Like, because first of all, the Israelites complained. That's a sin, right? They whined, like they start like having accusations and coming at other people. Like, they were letting the devil use them, to like cause a man of God to stumble, like stuff like that, right? So, but that's not the powerful point. So Elam, it's a place, it's an oasis, right? We just read that in verse 27. So it's the oasis of Elam with 12 springs, so 12 wells and 70 palm trees. So like this place, like the Israelites had rest and comfort. They had everything they wanted. Like everything was already there for them in that place. And like honestly, they probably didn't even want to leave, right? Is there any places in life like that for you? It's a rest and comfort. Like it's, I guess, a comfort zone. You know what I mean? It's a place of like you can just relax. You don't have to do anything. I guess that would be with your parents, right? And then God's like sending the Israelites to a place to meet God and receive his law, to receive instruction, to obey and follow the Lord. So that's what Sinai is, man. But in between there is the wilderness of sin. That is so powerful, man. So what I learned just with what that is like no place is perfect. So Elam, even though like they had all the provisions and everything like that, like God didn't want them to stay there. Even Amora, Oasis Amora, God provided great water there, sweet water. Like, it's probably the best tasting water they ever had, right? They probably didn't even want to leave that place when they got it. But like, no place is perfect, right? And you'll never feel like you'll have everything. That's one thing I learned too, just with those places and like this passage. Like no matter where God puts you in your life, what wilderness, anything. Yeah, go ahead.
So you said earlier that it's a sin to complain. I've never heard that before, and I want you to kind of go into that. Like, so here's my thought process as of now.
Okay.
If you're feeling some type of way, like, why would you not go to God with that? Or what's the difference between casting your burdens versus complaining?
Right. All right. So before I answer your question,
like,
go ahead.
In the Bible, that's what I would.
Yeah. So let's go to the Bible to answer your question. So in Philippians,
let's do that.
Yeah, in Philippians 2:14 it says, "Do all things without grumbling or questioning," right? And like when you think about Moses, like, did Moses grumble and complain? He did, right? Like a little bit, but like he still did what God wanted him to do.
He did to some degree.
Yeah, but yeah, and so but he still did it, right? Like that's not debatable. He did what God called him to do, even with grumbling and complaining. Same thing with Jonah. Jonah didn't want to do it. He didn't want to go to Nineveh, but he grumbled and complained a lot, but he still did it. He may even have done it out loud, which is a sin. Like, you know, why? That's the whole point. Like, why even bother grumbling, whining, and complaining when you still got to do what God called you to do? You know, like, why be negative and a pessimist? Like, is it a sin to be negative and a pessimist? And like, just like, does that glorify God to be negative through life? Like, be a negative Nancy? You know what I mean? Would that lead other people to Christ and lead them to want to hear from you if you're negative about everything? Like, that's my dad. But anyways, let's keep on going. James 5:9. Let's read that one. Do not grumble against one another, brothers, so that you may not be judged. Behold, the judge is standing at the door. I don't really like that one, so let's keep on going. 1 Peter 4:9. Show hospitality to one another without grumbling. Right? So there's a lot of scripture verses just talking about grumbling and complaining and whining. And like the only reason why grumbling, complaining, and whining is a sin is because it just keeps you from doing what you really need to do. It gives you the wrong thoughts about a situation that God's called you to do, like with work. Like, yeah, I grumble and complain. I just did it just now with our check-ins. Like, I grumble and complain about how much work I got to do, how overwhelming it is. But ain't it a blessing that I got a job? Ain't it a blessing that I'm making money and I'm not going through 2 to 8 months without getting paid like I was? You know what I mean? Like, this is a blessing. God blessed me with this job. Yeah. So like, why would I complain? And that's what I was talking about, like with work, like in each and every single situation in life, it's either an oasis of Elam or oasis of Mora, or like wherever the Israelites are going in the wilderness of sin, right? Like there's so many places in the wilderness, right, that God's sending you to in life. And so, like, are you going to whine and complain the whole time? Because if you do, you're not going to go anywhere. You're not going to get anywhere. So, like, you get the wrong mindset. Like the Israelites, this is not even debatable. The Israelites had the wrong mindset. Like, they are only people really complaining. Right. You don't hear Moses complaining no more. Like, Moses knew, like, I still got to do it. So what's the point of me complaining? Like, he complains later on, but it's to God. He ain't going to ever, like, complain at his brother or sister or the Israelites. You know what I mean? Like, so that's why it's a sin. Like, it causes other people to stumble. It hurts other people. Like, I keep on going. You guys get what I'm saying? So, yeah.
Okay, yeah, makes sense. What was the first one in Philippians?
Philippians 2:14.
What was the verse? 2:14. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, because
First Corinthians 10:10 is a good one too.
1 Corinthians, you said 1:10?
10:10.
Oh, I'm sorry. I don't know why I was still in Philippians.
No, that's one too. Philippians 2:14. I'll just add another one.
2:14. Yeah, and then you said 1 Corinthians 10:10.
Yeah, that says, nor grumble as some them did, as were destroyed by the destroyer. So that's a really good one. Like if you like read all the Bible verses for that. But yeah, so let's keep on going. All right, so anybody got something you want to say?
I stopped it.
Okay.
Yeah. No, I was just saying I stopped at verse 8.
All right, so yeah, I'll read in a bit. I want to finish this section though. I got a lot more to say. Okay. So like the whole point of this passage is like the Israelites went from singing to complaining real quick. Like they were just rejoicing and praising God, right? Then like when stuff didn't go their way, they started complaining. Like that's why complaining is a sin too, because like shouldn't we be rejoicing and praising God no matter our circumstances? Like everything we do should be about praising God. It should be about glorifying God. So the Israelites, like you could tell, like they're not even like Christians, and they're like baby Christians, some of them, but like they didn't really understand it because it said the whole community of Israel complained against Moses and Aaron. And I like how Moses said, like, you know, you're complaining to the wrong person. I didn't bring you here. God did. And that's so funny because in the book of the chapter before in Exodus 15, they were praising God for, defeating the Egyptians, defeating the Egyptians. Here in chapter 16, they're saying, Moses, you did it. What? Like, then they said that God was the one who brought him to the wilderness. Like, like he's the one that's bringing us, to. Now they're blaming it on Moses. And that's how they are, like complaining and whining and distrust. It will have you like, it will have you putting pinpointing stuff where it don't belong. It will have you like confused. And then on top of that, you'll see the past as it wasn't. Like the Israelites literally were saying that it was better to be a slave than it is to be a child of God. That's what they were saying. They were saying it's better in Egypt because we had a lot of meat there. Like we had pots of food. Like we had all the bread we wanted. But isn't God giving them more? Like, isn't He doing more in a wilderness? Like, let the Egyptians throw you in the wilderness and see what you get. Like, but the Lord is like making sure that nothing bad happened to you guys. Like, the food was never running out in the wilderness. Nobody died of hunger or starvation. You know, they just felt hungry, like temporarily. That speaks so much to our lives. Like, we get hungry sometimes, like with the wrong things. Like the word of God is spiritual food for us, right? We'll talk about that in a minute. But like God is the bread of life. He's the water of life. Like there's some things in life, like for example, for me, like I think having sex with all the women in the world will make me happy. You'll give me what I need. But we all know that's not true. Sometimes I think like, maybe I should have, date around and have all the women in the world. Like, because it will make me feel like I'm valuable. Like I look good. You know what I'm saying? But that's not gonna satisfy me. Doesn't God do that to me for me already? Doesn't Maya do that for me? The person that God gave me to be my bride. You know what I'm saying? So like, this is so powerful, man. Like, yeah. So like the Israelites, man, they had a slave mentality. They forgot uh, just how bad it was in Egypt. Like the Egypt, just how just they killed all the Hebrew babies. They forgot they were whipped. They forgot that Pharaoh made it twice as hard on them, to like get the bricks and the straw and stuff like that. Like, come on, man. They're acting like nothing ever happened. So like, man, that's how it is. Like when you want to complain, like you misconstrued everything, basically, right? And so, yeah, and something else you should know, guys. There was no miracles in Elam, right? In the town, the oasis before this. So they had wells and palm trees and stuff, but there was no miracle, no change, no miraculous change of bitter into sweet, no statue, no ordinance, no promise, no new revelation of God, no new name of God. They didn't discover anything new, like, you know what I mean? And that's how it is in some seasons of life. Some seasons of life, like probably where you're at right now, like it feels like Elam, like you got everything you want and need. Like you always wanted money, you always wanted a job and income, I always wanted to get out of your parents' house and live alone. But like nothing like special's happening. That's just for a season. That's what this passage is talking about as well. Um, and what's so sad, the Israelites, man, because they were complaining, they had the wrong mindset about what God was about to do next. So they anticipated starvation, but never experienced it. So you anticipate the worst when you're being a negative Nancy. You can't see the positive things and the things that God's really doing and where He's going to take you to, because your whole thought process is off, right? So I equate just having being complaining like that as just having a negative mindset versus a positive mindset. Because people with positive mindsets have positive lives. People with negative mindsets in any kind of fashion has a negative life. So, yeah. All right. I'm ready for the next section.
Verse 9.
I got it, Jerry, because you've been reading a lot. All right. Then Moses said to Aaron, announce this to the entire community of Israel. Present yourselves before the Lord, for He has heard your complaining. And Aaron spoke to the whole community of Israel. They looked out toward the wilderness. There they could see the awesome glory of the Lord in the cloud. Then the Lord said to Moses, I've heard the Israelites' complaints. Now tell them, in the evening you will have meat to eat. In the morning you will have all the bread you want. Then you will know that I am the Lord your God. That evening vast numbers of quail flew in and covered the camp. The next morning the area around the camp was wet with dew. When the dew evaporated, a flashy substance as fine as frost blanketed the ground. The Israelites were puzzled when they saw it. What is it? They asked each other. They had no idea what it was. And Moses told them, It is food the Lord has given you to eat. These are the Lord's instructions. Each household should gather as much as it needs. Pick up 2 quarts for each person in your tent. So the people of Israel did as they were told. Some gathered a lot, some only a little. But when they measured it, everyone had just enough. Man, that's so powerful. All right. Those who gathered a lot had nothing left over, and those who gathered only a little had enough. Each family had just what it needed. I think I want to stop right there. Okay, I'm gonna read the next one. Verse 19. Then Moses told them, "Do not keep any of it until morning." But some of them didn't listen and kept some of it until morning. But then it was full of maggots and had terrible smells. Moses was very angry with them. All right.
Yeah, Sean, go ahead, man. I don't really have much on this right now.
All right.
Yeah, go ahead, man.
All right. So I'm looking at my notes that I have so much, man. So I want to make sure I say the right things. But I'll just go ahead and go just to get the ball rolling. So yeah, the first thing that stood out to me was how each household should gather as much as it needs, right? So the Israelites, that relates to life for me because like every single day in life, like God is sufficient, right? He can give you everything you need in life. And when you go to him, man, you can take as much from him as you can get. Like, and then the thing is, like, you can share God with anybody, like to your household, to your friends, and it will be enough. Like, there's never too much of him to give. Like, he doesn't have a limited supplies. He can be given to everybody. So, like, take as much as you want. And what's sad to me is like, it reminds me of the story in the Bible where I think it was Elijah. He was talking with somebody like he was a warrior. He led the army of Israel. It was either Elisha or Elijah, and like they said they were about to die, and they said like, okay, as many times you strike the ground, that's how many times. That's how many, strike the ground. That's what they told him. Just strike the ground. And they only struck it like 3 times because they thought it was stupid and weird. And then the prophet was like, is that it? Like, that's how many times you're gonna hit the ground? He was like, well, because you hit the ground that many times, like that's how many victories Israel's gonna have before judgment comes. Like you should have hit the ground like 7 or 12 or even 25 times. Like don't stop hitting the ground. And that's how it is for me right here in this passage. Like you can have all of Jesus in the world. So why are you just gonna take a little bit? Why are you just gonna get like come on Sundays and that's all you're gonna do? Like just come to church on Sunday, and that's all you do. You don't ever attend Bible studies or life groups. Like you don't ever read the word yourself. Like during the week, doing your own devotionals. Like you only get the little. Like what kind of life is that? Like, but okay. So yeah, and then it said they gathered. Like one thing too that stood out to me was God commanded the people to go out themselves and get the manna for you and your family, right? So like nobody could hire anybody to do it for them. So the rich couldn't hire the poor to do it. No, like everybody needs to go out individually and get their own manna. And that's how it is for salvation. Like, you know what I mean? Like when it comes to like your judgment day, God's gonna judge you and you alone. He ain't gonna judge your mommy and based on what your mommy did for you, like, that's no, like it's all dependent on you. What'd you do with me? Like you gotta come out for yourself every day and take your daily bread. That's another thing. Like Jesus was talking about, like he said in the Lord's Prayer, like when he was teaching the disciples how to pray, one of the things he said was, give us this day our daily bread. Like every single day is a day to receive manna from heaven. It's a day to receive melodies from heaven, like Avery was saying. Like, so what are you doing with your day, man? Like, are you going out and gathering everything you can gather of him with each and every single day of your life? And if you're not, man, that is such a sad life. Such a sad life. Like, you have broken cisterns, you are drinking bitter waters, and you're in the wilderness and you're not going to God, who can give you what you need and want. Like, well, and then that's another thing. I want to really say that one of the biggest things that I learned is 2 points. I'm gonna just hit you guys with it. It's about that time. God won't satisfy all your greeds, but He'll satisfy all your needs. Right? See, we're a greedy people. We want things, but wants are different than needs. God's gonna make sure you get everything you need, not everything you want. And there's nothing wrong with that, because like for example, if I dated the first girl I had a crush on, man, when I was 6 years old, and that was the girl I was gonna marry, man, come on now. Like, can you imagine like having to marry the very first crush you had? How your life would have turned out? Like, if everything happened like you wanted, exactly like you wanted, would it be enough? Like, I want to be in NBA, NFL. No, the freak I don't. I don't want to have to go up against no giants and getting hit. You know, they just got a huge advantage over me. I'm good. I don't like having to work like a slave. They got to work like slaves. Like, I'm good. So, like, yeah.
They really do.
Right. Especially Olympians. Like, I can't stand track. Like, oh, track is the worst. But anyways, another point I had was God keeps you in the wilderness so that your habits and your lifestyle might be transformed. That is so powerful. I'm going to say it again. God keeps you in the wilderness so that your habits and your lifestyle might be changed. So here goes a question I got for you guys, man. Like, what are the habits and the lifestyle changes that God's trying to change in your life right now in the wilderness that He has you in right now? I know what mine are. Like, I knew what it was when I first said that point. Like, God keeps you in the wilderness so that your habits and your lifestyle might be transformed. So God's trying to do something in your life right now. And He puts you in wilderness in different places. He does everything for a reason. Because, guys, it said here that God's going to test them. And this is how I'm going to test them. Like, I want you to go out. Well, we'll see it in the next part. But He said, go out and gather manna. And then eventually He's going to test them to see if they're going to do what he said to do. And if they don't do what He says to do, then they're going to start seeing maggots and everything. And it's not going to give them the fulfillment they want and need, because hoarding food. All right, I ain't going to get to it yet. Somebody else go so I can figure out my other points I have for this section, so I don't go to the other ones yet.
Actually, my internet had cut out shortly. What did you say your habits were?
Yeah, I said God keeps you in the wilderness so that you're. Oh no, I didn't say what my habits are. I just said that point.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought we be open and share with one another, because I can go.
Yeah, if y'all want to do that, if Avery goes, I'll do it.
Avery, yeah.
So the habit, I feel like I put me into like a texture work phase, like just wow, I had it and then lost it. But I think right now is just what I put over is just patience right now. It's just being patient with whatever comes to my way or obstacles going to get with me, because it's coming. It's been going staying on my stuff for a while. So I just need to just make sure just not just only forget out, but like just erupt and explode or anything. But like him to just go through that obstacle, go through that patient, go through the trials that's coming my way. Okay. And another one is just procrastination, because that's been there for years. I mean, man, I feel like I don't even know that's going to go away, but I'm still working, not just working on it, but like vastly trying to get rid of it, and just vastly saying to myself, at least have confidence to like do the things that you got to do the things you need to do for the day, not just wait, just do it.
So that's the habit God's trying to break, man. All right. Jerry, you want to go, and then I'll go?
Habit, for me, it is a form of patience. Like, I'm really quick to react. Like if somebody says something, and I'm working on that. I'm trying to be slower to react, slower to respond. Just sometimes not even responding at all. It's just my nature to confront and respond. And so where God kind of broke me with that was after my previous relationship, where although it sucked, although yes, that person hurt me, But at the same time, I didn't have to say those things towards the end of it. If it was over, it was, oh, I didn't have to say all those other things that, even though she said something that really ticked me off.
Yeah.
And because of that, not really friends anymore. We're not real friends. You know, like, although she is my sister in Christ always, and if we never speak again, at least I'll see her in heaven, just God. But that taught me the biggest lesson of self-control.
Yeah, my habit, man, like, man, yeah, mine's real personal, man. It's masturbation, porn, girls, anything that has to do anything like that, man. So, dating apps.
Oh, yeah.
It's all of it, man. Like we were saying, man, like Pharaoh didn't start off just being so hardened towards sin, like, and towards things of God. Like it was little by little, his heart became harder and harder. And that's how it is, like, with just our habits. Like, you know, like the more we do it, the more we get accustomed to it, the more it becomes a habit that's hard to break. Not even a habit. It becomes a generational curse. Like, it can. You can pass it on to your other, you know, future generations, your kids and stuff. So, yeah. But yeah, if anybody else didn't have anything, I got a lot more to say with this section. I just had to look at my notes. Y'all be giving me advantage when y'all be going first, and then I can go after y'all. But when I have to go first, like, it makes me forget certain things. But like, let's go to verse 10, man. And it came to pass as Aaron spake unto the whole congregation of the children of Israel, that they looked toward the wilderness and behold, the glory of the Lord appeared in the cloud. Like, guys, this is so powerful. Like, you know, we know from this passage that Aaron, he prayed or something, I don't know. Like, and then a cloud appeared, right? And the cloud, this was the same cloud that the manna was coming from, I think. And so, and like the birds, whatever that they called it in this passage, the birds were coming from that they got to eat at night. So like, this was a miracle. But then like they started seeing the cloud. Like at first they were in awe of it, like, you know what I mean. But then they started getting used to it, and that's how it is when stuff's familiar to you. You become so used to it that you don't see like the blessing for what it really is, like that you knew it was when you first saw it, right? And so that's how it is. Like, that's what that passage is talking about right here. We can go real deep in that if we wanted to, but I want to keep on going. But the last thing I want to say what that point is like, you know, God's minister should be just like that. Like, we should be, and even if you're a child of God, like, everybody's a minister of God. So like, people should be in awe of us with just how we operate in our lives and everything like that, because God's glory should shine through you. Like, they were mesmerized by the cloud only when it started shining, like when they got accustomed to it. When they got accustomed to it, you know, it was just a cloud. But then when it started shining, and I guess like bringing out the food, then they were amazed. That's how it should be for a Christian, like for a child of God who's ministering to the world, talking about, you know, how good God is. In 13 and 14, man, yeah, like that's talking about them having to go out and gather the manna. And so the thing is like the manna wasn't cooked. It didn't come out cooked. Like, they had to like sweep it up or something like that. Like, they had to sweep it up from the sand, guys. So like in the dirt. So like the way that God did it was he put dew down to where it was easy to separate the dirt in the sand probably from the manna, so from the flour, so that they could like get up as much as they can and then go bake it. That is so powerful, guys, because that's how it is in our lives with God. Like, you know, this is how God operates with man. This is what it symbolizes, that, you know, Israel could not bring the manna and God could not gather it for them. Like, they had to go, each person had to do their part. That was so powerful. Like, Jerry, man, changed my life, man. Like, Jerry told me basically the same thing. Like, you can pray all you want, man. You can wait all you want on the Lord, but there's certain things that God wants you to do your part too. Like, you can't just hope for a job and just hope that somebody's gonna come give you a job if you don't go out looking for it and applying for jobs. Like, it doesn't happen like that. It may, but come on now, that's testing the Lord. Do your part, right? So verse 15, manna means what's that, by the way? Like, what is that? What is it? So that's why they called it manna. Let's go to Yeah, something else I want to say too. We look at verse 4. I'm going back up. So God operates in different ways, right? Sometimes he uses unexpected resources, and sometimes he uses familiar resources. Like for Mora, he was using the water, but then he had to use wood because the water was too bitter, right? So those are familiar resources. Here, come on now, manna from heaven, like coming from a cloud, food from the sky. That has never happened since then. Like, right? It doesn't happen in today's time period. So that's an unexpected resource. And sometimes God operates like that in our lives. So yeah, man, I just pray I get to experience unexpected resources and then, talk about it and tell others, and that'll be my testimony. Talk about how good God is. But anyways, verse 7. So after the Israelites complained, God should have really sent them hell, right? God could have been real mean to them and just, instead of giving them bread, give them nails. But he didn't do that, man. So, God didn't send hell, but he sent bread from heaven instead, right? God didn't tell them to stop complaining before they ate. He just fed them. That is so powerful, man, because that's just like Jesus, man. God loved and fed those who acted like enemies. He died on a cross for those who claimed to love God but didn't, whose hearts were far from him. The biggest critics that Jesus had were the religious people, the people that should have known God the most. And Christ died for them too. Like, that is so powerful, man. So, yeah, that's something else I learned with this passage as well. I think I'm good. I think I said everything I wanted to say. Anybody else, they got something they want to add?
Yeah. Not really for me.
Me.
But something else I want to say too. There's no need to hoard. Oh, go ahead, Jay.
Oh, I'm sorry. No, sorry. Keep going.
Well, something else I was gonna say too, man. There's no need to hoard like God's blessings or hoard anything. Like we hoard. I know I'm in a family of hoarders. Like I hoard stuff too. There's no need for that, man, because God's gonna give you what you need the next day. That goes back to the Lord's prayer. Give us this day our daily prayer. Our daily bread. Like God's gonna always provide, and when you hold stuff for yourself and you're hoarding, that like this is really talking about like not just God's provision, but like just the gospel in general. Like there's so many Christians out in the world, and I wouldn't even call them Christians, but there's so many people out there that just study the word for themselves, only for themselves, and don't share it at all with anybody, or they're very like reluctant to do it, and that's just where the worms, man, the maggots and all that are coming to play and come into place, man. So, and that's serving the Lord in vain, and we can't be like that. And also receiving the Lord in vain too. Like that's another thing. Like to have all this religious laxity or whatever you want to call it, and being religious and praying to God and everything, but you're not acting on your faith. You don't ever apply it. That's another way of hoarding the gospel. Like you're not practicing what you preach. Come on now, that's not the way to live. That's not the way this faith thing operates. You need to do your part and God does his. So that's something else I learned with verse 19. So do not keep any in the morning. Like you need to come back every morning. So
Yes. We'll keep going. We'll find another stopping point. Verse 20. However, some of them paid no attention to Moses. They kept part of it until morning, but it was full of maggots and began to smell, so Moses was angry with them. Each morning, everyone gathered as much as they needed, and when the sun grew hot, it melted away. On the sixth day, they gathered twice as much, 2 omers for each person. And the leaders of the community came and reported this to Moses. He said to them, "This is what the Lord commanded. Tomorrow is to be a day of Sabbath rest, a holy Sabbath to the Lord. So bake what you want to bake and boil what you want to boil. Save whatever is left and keep it until morning." So they saved it until morning, as Moses commanded. They did not eat, and it did not stink or get maggots in it. "Eat it today," Moses said, "because today is a Sabbath to the Lord. You will not find any of it on the ground today. 6 days you are to gather it, but on the seventh day, the Sabbath, there will not be any." Nevertheless, some of the people went out on the seventh day to gather it, but they found none. The Lord said to Moses, "How long will you refuse to keep my commands and my instructions? Bear in mind that the Lord has given you the Sabbath. That's why on the sixth day he gives you bread for 2 days. Everyone is to stay where they are on the seventh day. No one is to go out." So the people rested on the seventh day. Is that a good stopping point, or should I read out?
You can read that.
Okay. The people of Israel called the bread manna. It was white like coriander seed, I guess, and tasted like wafers made with honey. Moses said, "This is what the Lord has commanded. Take an omer of manna and keep it for the generations to come, so they can see the bread I gave you to eat in the wilderness when I brought you out of Egypt." So Moses said to Aaron, "Take a jar and put an omer of manna in it, and place it before the Lord to be kept for the generations to come." As the Lord commanded Moses, Aaron put the manna with the tablets of the covenant law, so that it might be preserved. The Israelites ate manna 40 years until they came to a land that was settled. They ate manna until they reached the border of Canaan. An omer is 1/10 of an ephah. Cool. Does anyone, now I'm sure that we as this generation don't recall, but I know some of your parents, maybe your grandparents remember. But on Sundays, like stores weren't never open. Did your grandparents or parents ever tell you about that?
I don't think they told me. I think I found out. Like, I think some stores are open, and that's also like anything about it, like common sense, because you don't do anything on Sunday besides celebrate the Lord's Day.
Yeah. So that was a very common thing. Yeah.
I got a question though. Can you describe what verse 36 means? An omen is 1/10 of a FF.
So ephah, let's go 2 omers. So if you go back to verse 22, and you're in the Bible app, and there's 3 dots on verse 22, it says that is possibly about 6 pounds or 2.8 kilograms. So that's just a measurement that the ancient world used was an omer. So that's 2 omers. So 2 omers is 6 pounds. 1 omer would probably be 3 pounds. And so 1 omer, wow, was a 10th. Oh, so Sean, does this point back to anything with tithing?
Maybe. It sound like it.
Yeah, I don't know. It might, so 1/10 of an ephah. So that means 1 ephah is worth 10 omers, so 30 pounds. 30 pounds of bread. And so I guess they saved, maybe might point back to the tithe at this point. Because the Lord always asks for 10% of the storehouse. And there's, 10% of what he gives you, whether it be time, resources, all those things. So yeah. Any other questions? Or anybody have anything to say on this part?
That was the only question I had in terms of the verse itself, not the chapter, the parts you read for yourself. It's just interesting how people still refuse to like the Lord's message. That's just his ignorance is just all around us. It's like it just says it's like, okay, you told simple instructions, but didn't listen to instructions. So that's just, I don't know if it's not pride. It's more like, it's not even disbelief because they still believe them, but it's more like, I guess I don't know if ignorance is the right word, but I was like when you just not do what you're told or you just don't feel like it. It's like kind of something like that. But it's not everyone just kind of stays away from that path.
Yeah. So it's funny. As I was listening to a couple sermons about this part, I was thinking about my own work week, like what I consider work versus what I consider hobbies or fun and stuff like that. And I know that Sean probably remembers this back at the apartment and stuff. Like I would go in like every day. Like I would always be grinding every day. And I think that's noble. I think that's important. But as I've grown older, and not even just older, as my relationship with God is getting greater and greater, I start to realize the value of resting, and I start to realize the value of breaks, not doing work, and not grinding all the time. Like I just started to use that time not grinding to pay more attention, be close to Him. And I'm glad that I did this past couple weeks or so, because I'm just being still and taking that rest before like work picked up was really, really necessary. Like, and I encourage you all that, yeah, we have work and all those things, but how much time do you take to just rest and look at a church service or attend? I'm sorry, not look, attend a church service online, because we have no excuse anymore. Like you can go to church anywhere, so there's no more excuses, you know. Or how much time out of your day do you take to do a devotional? How much time out of your day do you take to just pray to, like, fervently pray to God and just be transparent with Him, even if it is just 5 or 10 minutes, you know? So all those things start to roll over, and so like here, God was obviously disappointed with these people, and I still think that He is willing to take proper rest. Now we do have like different denominations, like Seventh-day Adventists and other people that are like the Sabbath is Saturday, and if you're not worshiping God on a Saturday and taking time to rest, then you're going to hell. Like that's their whole belief system of Seventh-day Adventists. And then the more that I read the Bible, I understand that God just wants us all to take a break, to take a rest, you know. So, but that doesn't excuse you to be lazy. He said, work 6 days really, really hard, grind it out. You know, one day, do nothing. It's perfectly fine. He wants that for you, because He knows that you're only human. You're not Him. Because he made the world in 6 days and then He rested. You know? So that's my 2 bits on this. Anybody else?
I'm just surprised that they had to eat this for 40 years until they arrived and where it was settled, you know, close by the land of Canaan, in the border of Canaan. So that's crazy. Like, because I get tired of food, man. Like, eating the same meal. I remember my mom used to give me oatmeal cream pies so much. Like, me and my brother, when we were younger, I hate oatmeal cream pies now. Like, there's a certain food I don't like no more, because my mom was so consistent at giving me it, because I got the best mom ever. And now I don't want to eat it no more. Like, I don't like it. Like, Lunchables, that's another good. I can't stand Lunchables. And Pop-Tarts, just give that to me all the time in college. So my freshman year, now I don't want it no more. But yeah, that's just for that part. But yeah, when it came to that Sabbath part, I was just thinking about work, like you were, Jerry, and like I want to read the verse before I say what I say. So he told them, Moses told the leaders of the Israelites, you know, this is what the Lord commanded. Tomorrow will be a day of complete rest, a holy Sabbath day set apart for the Lord. So bake or boil as much as you want today on the 6th day, and set aside what is left for tomorrow. That is so powerful, because like God doesn't play about the Sabbath, the day of rest. Like, and that day of rest is just a day dedicated to Him, focused on Him, like praising Him, rejoicing about the whole week and everything He's done, and like and everything He has ever done, like and what He will do. Like, there's so much to praise God for. So like I was gonna ask you guys, like, do you still keep the Sabbath, and is the Sabbath still relevant for today? And it is. Like, so I'm gonna go ahead and answer the question. It's definitely relevant for today, because like we all need rest. And one of the things he's trying to get at is this is the revelation I got from this passage, is like, to think that you have to work all the time and grind all the time, 7 days a week, nonstop. That means you have something left to give still, because you didn't grind hard enough. Because like for me with work, like this was so convicting, because like I wouldn't have to do stuff for work at all or anything, honestly, if I like only rested, if I like grinded harder that last day, like so that Saturday, the 6th day, or so whatever you want to call it, Friday. Like if I grinded hard enough that last day, and like then I grinded so hard that all I can do is rest that next day. Like like that's what I was thinking about, like how I have so much more to give for work and stuff. And that's why it was convicting me, like work. Like I need to do so much for work during the week that on the weekend I can relax and rest. Like, so that's what I got from it. Like, cause I be working hard,
Dude,
and I don't. And
that's exactly where I got to with everything, bro.
right.
That's 1000%. I was like, dude, I'm tired of this. Like, I don't want to work, and like I feel guilty about that. And so like, I had a real talk with my sister, and she was like, dude, God wants you to rest. He wants that for you. Like, so yeah, like you're right. Like even today, after this, I am gonna take a nap, best believe, but I'm gonna get back on the grind.
Right.
And then tomorrow, I ain't doing nothing. And I'm not gonna feel guilty about doing nothing. Because I literally work 6 days a week now. Literally work 6 days. Every day I have to show up to the golf course. I have classes. And I'm grateful for it. And wow, it's like God's still moving in my life, bro. He's literally making Sunday my Sabbath. Love him so much for that.
Right.
Yeah, that's it for me.
Yeah, and then
anybody else before we close out?
Yeah, I got something else too. So like, I want to talk about the manna from God. Like, while in the wilderness of this life, like God gives us manna, like, but it's really mannas. Like, I was gonna ask you guys, what are the mannas? Like, and the mannas, like, it's answered in the scripture, man. Like, I know some of it went through your head. Like, for 1 Corinthians 10:3, Paul talks about spiritual meat. Like, eat your spiritual food, man, from God. Like, the word of God is spiritual food. That's Matthew 4:4. And Paul mentions it too in 1 Corinthians as well. Again, like, so the word of God is manna for, our souls to be nourished. Jesus, he's the true manna, the bread of life, man. Like, that's John 6:49-51. Then the comforts of the Holy Spirit, man. When God comforts us, man, that's the hidden manna. That's Revelations 2:17. So you got all these mannas, right? And like this manna is for you in the wilderness of this world. So like, have you gathered it? Have you been cooking it? Have you been eating it? Have you been like, during the whole week, guys, you gather it so much that on Sunday, all you do is just feast on it all Sunday. Like, that is so powerful, man. So Christ must be applied to your soul. When he is in your soul, you have all the grace to be used. You have all the grace, like, to do anything. Because through Christ we can do all things, right? So man, you got gatherness for those who follow the pillar of fire at night. The pillar of fire during the day, like the cloud. You guys get what I'm saying? Like, man, he's gonna give you everything you need and then way more than enough. So like, that's why I got through this passage, man. Like, God's giving us the manna, man. So what are you doing with it? Like, have you even gathered it? Like, you have to gather it in the morning. Like, that is so powerful. In the morning, at night, then you got the flesh. Like, you got the what I'm trying to say, the bird or whatever it's called. So like, yeah. So have you gathered it, man? Have you been cooking and eating it? Because if you don't gather it in the morning, you missed your opportunity for that day. And it's always coming to you. Every day is there and it's available. So are you gonna do it today? Like, so every day. So yeah. All right, I'm done now.
No worries. Oh, great. I think that's it for today, guys. Glad for everyone that could be here and decided to be here.